Good afternoon, everybody. This is Ayla from the New Federal State of China. Welcome to our special program, Miles Trial. We're live every day from 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to bring you the most recent update on Miles Guo's cases. Miles Guo is known as the founder of the New Federal State of China, also known as the #1 enemy of the Chinese Communist Party. Lots of our families and friends were aware the United States government put 12 federal counts charges against Miles in March 2023. Now Miles's trial has begun since May 22nd. This is the 10th day of Miles' trial, and the government until now has called 9 witnesses in total. And so yesterday, we've briefed that the government called on the 8th witness who claimed to be a victim of several investment projects that were mentioned in Miles' cases. The defense team today continued to do cross-examination with the eighth witness and brought upon the next witness who is actually from Australia. So now let's welcome Max to our program, and he will bring us the most recent updates just from the courtroom.
Hi there, Ayla, and thank you so much to all the friends, family, and fellow fighters that are watching around the globe. I'm very honored to be bringing you live updates here from the courthouse where Miles is currently undergoing his trial. I just want to say that, as some of you may have caught in a recent Getter post from his daughter, he was actually not aware that yesterday was 6/4. So he came in today very, very exuberant, almost in a joking manner, saying hi to everyone, making sure that everyone had a great day yesterday. And I hope you did as well. Today he wore a warm light blue suit, and like I said, he had a very, very welcoming smile. I don't know how to describe it to you, Isla. While I was there sitting in the courtroom, it felt like I was being welcomed into his house as a guest almost. The way that he was looking at everyone and smiling at them.
Yeah, thank you for telling us, the situation in the court, Max. It is always interesting and very, heartwarming to hear, the smiles and the feelings, the vibes of Miles. Obviously, it is very lengthy, process with the trial. Miles himself has not pleaded guilty. He chose to insist that he is innocent with all of these charges, and this is exactly why now we're experiencing this lengthy trial from the Southern District of New York. We've aware that some of our families were curious about where Miles Guo's trial was taking place. So his trial is currently at Southern District of New York, 5 Pearl Street, in downtown Manhattan. The courtroom number is 26B, and the trial itself is public, so there are lots of public spectators, to observe the trial every day, as many of our fellow fighters did as well. So Max, brief us a little bit about the 8th witness who appeared in the court yesterday. We were aware that the 8th witness, was present in the court, and then she claimed, herself to be a victim of the investment project. However, the investment she made was not directly, with Guo. She never said that she wired any payment to Mr. Guo. She only said that she was encountered a woman whose name is Sarah Wei, and then she did, certain investments in wires that was related to Sarah Wei, a VOG voice of Guo, and then, later on she received a refund from SEC and from Fairfund, with a less than 10% of loss. So brief us a little bit of how the cross-examination of the 8th witness, going in this morning. We were being briefed yesterday that the 8th witness experienced certain difficulties in understanding the questions and providing, the answers properly in the court. Did that happen, today as well?
Yes, and I want to quote one of the statements that I heard our lawyer say after the judge issued a break. The lawyer quote said, "This has not been nothing less than a trudge through the mud." And I'd like to quote again, "The witness refuses to answer questions directly, and it is seen because the judge needed to strike answers repeatedly or numerous times." And I counted the number of strikes. The judge today struck her answers 9 total times throughout the cross-examination. So there has been a lot of difficulty, and there also has been a lot of translation error as perceived in the quote. And many times the court had to break just to check over the translation, making sure every question and answer was being translated properly. So it was a rocky road to say the least. And well, I'd be more than happy to dive into all the specifics with you. So yesterday, as you know, the objective of the government, in my eyes, to bring this witness on to tell her victim story was a more so of a sob story to let people know as her position as being someone who is desperate and wanted investments and how she lost those investments. But the cross, as you said, that began yesterday, it went through a thorough dive, and it was revealed that many of her investments weren't directly with Mr. Guo, and it was more so towards Sarah Wei, and not much direct contact was made with Mr. Guo. She also admitted that she didn't know what Sarah Wei was doing or what if she was following orders directly from Mr. Guo.
Right. So, Max, it seems to me that the judge has, concerns on the way, the eight witness whose name was also being public, Jenny Lee, answered questions in the court. Yesterday, we were aware that the judge actually took time, several times the judge paused the trial and try to explain how to answer questions in the court as a witness. And one of the sentences that I recall was the judge said that if people were asking about your favorite color, just say color. Don't say that you like ice cream, right? And today it seems to me that the judge have more conversations on if the witness was actually able to continue to testify. And it's very rare to see the judge stepped up and start to discuss how to strike certain answers from the eight witness. So remind us a little bit if any of these questions or with direct examination yesterday were being striked with the eight witness.
Yeah, so absolutely. So she actually took a lot of initiative to ask the witness questions directly today included. And I wanted to bring up a certain portion where she was being questioned about her involvement in the protests. So she was involved in a LA protest in the August of 2020, as well as a Texas protest later on. And she claimed that she was very suspicious, and she wouldn't say who she was suspicious about. And the judge actually took initiative to ask her if she was suspicious of people within the group, to which she answered no. And the judge later on asked if she knew that these people were pretending to be a part of the group, to which we got no conclusive answer to. So as you can see, with the numerous amount of breaks, with the numerous amount of strikes, the circle round method of answering these questions provided by the witness was wearing thin on a lot of people's patience within the court, and therefore I believe the judge had to issue a break, as numerous amounts of breaks actually, and dismiss the witness early, to my understanding, before they could do a redirect or recross of the witness.
Wow. Wow. So, actually, there wasn't even a redirect or recross with the eight witness. Am I correct?
That is correct.
Wow. So, so Max, it sounds to me, from the eight, the total eight witnesses who actually already appeared in the court, many of them recall that, their report to the court was not made by themselves, that the prosecutor team made the report for the witnesses, and the witness was only testifying if certain materials were included in the report or not. And several other witnesses have demonstrated difficulties or challenges of recalling details of certain events that they attempt to testify. And there are also one of the witnesses, the fourth witness, Karen Mastrello, who was known as a former employee of the entities that were mentioned in the indictment, had the difficulty to matching her testimony in the deposition several years ago. So it sounds to me, the government, all of the witnesses up till now, who were brought to the court demonstrated certain difficulties in building up that foundation, for further proving, the charges that they laid out against Miles. So tell us a little bit, what happened after the eight witness. Right after the lunch break, did the government bring on a new witness who actually came from Australia?
Yes, absolutely. So before I get into that, I just want to say, like you said, they had a lot of struggle building a foundation of the basis of these indictments, whereas the cross-examination had a great foundation building what the NFSC stood for, the whistleblower
Mm-hmm.
movement stood for, particularly while we were investigating the purposes of these protests. We knew that certain protests was because we stood against the evil CCP's treatment of certain Hong Kong protests, to their own political dissidents, to people even disappearing within China. We were protesting that. So it allowed the jurors to see a more broader picture of what these activities were really for, who was organizing them, and so and so. And I believe that stands as a great foundation and will prove to be strong in the future as well. So let's get into the witness that was brought on after lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes by a persona name known as Mulan. And Mulan, this name was mentioned many times in the previous witness's testimony as one of the pointers to who she believed her money was swindled from, Mrs. Lee,
Mm.
I'm referring to. So Mulan was brought in after lunch, and she was brought in as a witness by the government to testify her own testimony. So not much evidence was brought up. It was majority her own testimony. However, there were certain pieces of evidence, such as
Mm-hmm.
live broadcasts from Mr. Guo's broadcast, just stating and clarifying her position, as well as what
Mm.
he intends to do with the G investments. Funnily enough, she also brought a gift that Mr. Guo gave her, and it was a pair of sunglasses that was shipped to her by Mr. Guo. So
Wow.
I'm intrigued to see what the government intends to do with that, because after the sunglasses were provided as evidence, the court took a
Mm-hmm.
sidebar, and unfortunately they didn't move on with the next evidence that was following that. They moved on to a stipulation instead.
Mm. Right. And and Max, thank you so much for bringing the CCP element, in this case, right? We've also, noticed the pattern that when the government focus was on money only, that there are lots of elements in this case, whether it appears as a stipulation, as an exhibit, or as, video recordings of Miles Guo's previous songs, that lots of efforts actually demonstrated CCP's efforts in sabotage and repatriate Miles back to China, and much effort were demonstrated in the court for Miles, to take the initiatives to expose the evil nature of the Chinese Communist Party. The April 19th VOA cutoff incident was mentioned. Fox Hunt operation by the Chinese Communist Party was mentioned in the stipulation. And the November 20th press conference held by Miles and Steve Bannon about the investigation of the death of the CEO of Hainan Airline, Wang Jian, was also mentioned. So lots of major events, related to the whistleblowers movement and the foundation of the new federal state of China were repeatedly discussed in the court, and that was one of the elements that brought the case, to a level of taking down the Chinese Communist Party rather than a normal criminal or a financial charge case. And so, Max, specifically with Mulan, with the ninth witness, we were aware, she was a former member, of our political movement, and it seems to me that she had certain involvement in some of the events or even entities that were mentioned, in the indictment. So when she appeared in the court today, obviously, our defense team has not started, cross-examination with her. But just through all of the direct questioning that you listened, in the court today, what arguments do you think that the government was trying to build with the ninth witness?
Absolutely. So, from my perspective, the ninth witness, Mulan, was brought up because of her specific positions within the whistleblower group, she had a couple of titles that made her in charge of certain areas. She was, for example, the director of the Rule of Law Foundation. She was a part of the Iron Blood group as well as a farm leader herself. So all of these combined gave her certain privileges to oversee operations, whereas most of our fellow fighters wouldn't exactly get to see. And the government brought her on, in my opinion, as a way to demonstrate um, the behind the scenes of what was going on within the funding, the links between each investment, and at the very end of the day, they also brought up the Kyle Bass hedge fund as a relationship
Mm-hmm.
to the G series. So, but I believe for her testimonial, she was basing her entire case around this idea of trust, and this trust was brought up many times because it was almost as an excuse as to why she didn't read any court documents, why she signed away all the money, why she sent the money to et cetera, et cetera. And she always testified that it was because she trusted Miles Gore, and this kept this idea of trusting Miles Gore as an excuse of overseeing operations was repeatedly brought up even during the direct actually. Yeah, so it
Mm-hmm.
was very interesting to see.
Right, right. Max, it seemed to me, now the government was trying to bring, a variety of witness, who claim to be victims, but who actually received a refund of their investments. And now they're bringing, former members, of the political movement and try to claim, certain, leading positions in the movement actually testified now against Miles. And so, Max, when the ninth witness, were there to testify, did she use an interpreter or did she speak on herself? Obviously, with the eighth witness, she brought in the translator, and there are much of the time, people were concerning about the accuracy of translation. There were sidebars, discussing the translation problems. And with the ninth witness, how was the general testifying situation? Did she speak English very fluently, or do you find any trouble or difficulty in understanding her testimony? Was she able to understand the question and answer it very properly in the court today?
Yeah, so this witness particularly, she did speak English, although it was not her first language. She was able to understand the direct, and she spoke on behalf of herself. The only issues that occurred were that she was very timid, I would say. She kept dodging the microphone, and the judge asked her multiple times, as well as the prosecutor, to speak into the mic as she was shying away from it and speaking in a very low tone. Um, Other than that, she didn't have much difficulty excluding some questions, but for the most part, she answered in very brief, short yes or no formats on behalf of herself.
Right, Max. And what was Miles's reaction, when the ninth witness, came appear in the court? Because obviously, as a member in the movement, just from my previous knowledge, that the ninth witness, Mulan, actually had never met Miles in person before. And so, the very first time that she met Miles was actually she now testified for the government to testify against Miles. So what was Miles's reaction in the court today?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I couldn't see Miles's face, but I saw that he was staring very intently from his side profile. I can assure you that he was staring deep into her soul with those eyes of his, digging out all the secrets of of her past and whatnot with that stare. But yeah, I think he was very somber-hearted to see a fellow member, especially one so close, testifying against him. So it was a very unique moment in court today, and I would love for more in-depth analysis by the panel members on this later on because I wasn't able to catch the entirety of it. So I would love to know the full picture as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Max. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're very appreciative, for your timely update, and we hope to have you more on our program. Thank you, Max.
Thank you again. It's my pleasure.
All right, Folks, with all of the updates with Miles cases, we will also be posting very timely every day on our X account. It is called NFSC Speaks. And so for every day when Miles was on trial, our team will ensure a timely updated to be uploading onto our account. This account was also live on Getter as well. So for everybody who was curious about Miles trial updates, please follow us at NFSC Speaks. With all public court documents, including court transcripts, it is available on nfscofficial.com. You click on court documents, everything you need was there. And if families ask about where Miles School's case is, it is in Southern District of New York. 500 per street, downtown Manhattan. The courtroom number is 26B. It is a public trial. And so now we're moving back to our studio. We have Feather and Jackson with us today. They have actually, sit there for the entirety of the trial in the afternoon. So we can't wait to hear more details from them.
Hi Ella. Hi Jackson.
Hello, everybody.
Hello to all the audience who's watching our live stream right now. My name is Feather.
And I'm Jackson.
People, our families must have been very familiar with our, two young faces lately. So let's get started. Obviously Max, briefed us a little bit about how that the 8 witness ended its cross without a second round of direct and second round of cross. So tell our audience a little bit more. In the morning, Max told us that there were several times that the court went into a break just to discuss, how the 8 witness should, keep continuing answering questions.
Yes, there are a lot of questions being asked to the witness and a lot of problems with translation. So a lot of sidebar was because of the translation issue, and there are times that the witness herself saying the translation is not being a good didn't interpret it the correctly, and also the translator, the interpreter, I keep asking questions to clarify what's the question is being asked, and it was, I would say, personal opinion, it was a pretty heated morning. Ever since I can smell the fire, I smell the bullets, and there's one question that she answered before the translation. Yeah, it was very interesting, and then I believe it was not recorded in the transcript.
It was being striked by the judge?
No, it was
The
not.
recorder didn't even record.
Wow.
Yes, and then because we know it because they were like repeating what's been asked with the transcript in the computer. They were reading off the transcript, and the answer yes was not included, and she answered in English.
So what would that what would that specific question that was missing in the transcript today?
I think was it because I think it was something related to meeting the Homeland Security in that regard.
So our cross asked if the 8 witness Jenny Lee actually met Homeland Security in the past?
Or speak to them. Yeah, but she saw she didn't say she directly speak to the someone from the Homeland Security, but she said she saw somebody but don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I do want to clarify, Jenny Lee is actually the 9th witness.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry for her confusing everybody.
Yeah.
So we're now having 10 witnesses today.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Jenny Lee is the 9th witness, and then we also have Mulan, which is Miss Ya Li, which is going to be the 10th witness.
Right.
Yes. And this morning it's just continue our cross-examination. It was really long. I will let me see here. So a lot of questions, it was not being answered like properly. Like the judge asked one question, and then it's a yes or no question, an open and end question, and she keeps adding stuff that was not asked. And this is the reason why the question keep getting stricken, because she wasn't answer what the question asked, right? For example, when she was asked who were the leader in Los Angeles for the protest, at the moment in Los Angeles, and she said Miles School directed. Everything leads back to Miles School. Who gives the directions in Los Angeles? Miles School. It's on the high table or something like that, and then beneath there's Sarah Wei, there's someone else, but Miles will give direction, but she doesn't say the leaders in Los Angeles. And a lot of issues with understanding the question and the interpretation, and a lot of interpretation has I don't know if Max mentioned, but the interpretation changed twice today.
Wow.
So we had someone from yesterday, it was translating for her, and today we had 2 more.
Yeah, 2 new interpreters that came in, a gentleman and then also another lady. And they took turns translating, and then to give everybody just a rough summary of the translators, the lady started things off with the translation, and well, actually the gentleman did. Started with the translation. They started having some problems with the translation, and it got to a point where the translator himself requested to tag team out for the other interpreter.
Wow.
She was like, he was like, can I have a break? Can someone else take my turn for now? And a lot of questions, asked, answered, but then it was not being answered properly, so they keep asking and asking again and again, and still the same thing happened like yesterday here. She was questioning the defense team, the lawyer. Yes. I have to say our defense lawyer, Scott, I think it's Schrick.
Yep.
Scott Schrick is a super patient gentleman. He did not raise his voice once at all in this a day-long questioning, cross-examination to the witness. He was super polite, super patient, and he keeps referring, ask the judge for directions, and if there's something happens, and he's very patient with this, even though there's a lot of difficulties with technical issues, there's translation issues, super polite, I'll give another example for like the questions that the way she answered the questions. Let's say she was asked what happened during the protest in LA, and then someone told others to take out the mask, and then standing in front of the embassy. That's her answer, to take pictures without the mask, the face of everyone, right? And then the lawyer asked, can you identify who they are? Who's the people who take the picture for you, like Topai, right? And she said, yes, I can identify even without mask on. And then they were asked, is the person part of the protesters? And she said no. So and then he asked, who's the person who tell the protesters to take off their mask? And she said, it's the person who take pictures.
So it was like circling around, but it doesn't really make you feel the logic of those stories behind, right? Because it sounds very inconsistency, and you don't even get a sense of what actually was going on for the event that she was trying to testify. And so, I wouldn't be surprised, that the judge, paused, the first round of direct and cross, and then decided to move on. And so, right after the lunch break, obviously the 10th witness and to, many, supporters, that might be a little bit surprising or astonishing to see, a former member of our movement went on the court and to testify against Miles. I was aware that, the 10th witness, Yali, also known as Mulan, she actually came from Australia.
Yes.
So did the prosecution team mention to the judge that she actually flew from Australia to United States just to testify in this case?
Yes. They actually mentioned that, as well as that she was accompanied by FBI agents. She flew here along with her daughter that was 11 years old. They mentioned that. And then the prosecutor also meant something that's interesting. The prosecutor said...
so, hold on, Jackson.
Yeah.
So, FBI agent was with her ever since she arrived in the United States?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't know if it's been said that she signed a non-prosecution agreement.
Yep.
She signed a non-prosecution agreement with the United States government.
Yes. To tell the truth, to give evidence and give testimony, and go to meetings with the government.
Yeah, in exchange for her not being prosecuted by the government.
Yes, and she mustn't lie as well. She can't lie, otherwise she's going to be charged.
Right,
yes.
right. So everybody, this is obviously the first witness out of the 10 witnesses that we've already seen in the court. That she appeared to be the very first one that the government now made it public that the 10th witness, Yali Mulan, signed a non-prosecution agreement with the prosecutors. She flew from Australia to United States with the company of FBI agent with her family members, a very young daughter. And Did the prosecution team, give out any estimation? Because obviously she's from a foreign country. So did the prosecution team give out any expectations of the length of her questioning or stay in the United States?
Great question. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to take it?
You can add if I'd missed anything.
So before, I mean, when we were still crossing the ninth witness, Jenny Lee, the government team actually spoke up and asked the judge to see if we can speed things up a little bit with this witness, because they're talking about how they have witnesses, like for example this Mulan lady that came in with witness number 10. She flew in from Australia. She's not going to be here for too long, so can we move things a little quicker when it comes to ninth witness? But the thing interesting about the ninth witness is like her testimony. And we can all go back to the transcript. This is public information. Like everybody go to nfseofficial.com. You guys can find the transcript there. Is that a lot of things she said the day prior that she testified in court to what she said today.
Inconsistent again?
Very inconsistent.
Wow.
Like
very
yesterday, in the morning, in the afternoon, and even like within 30 minutes, she changes her testimony.
Yeah, like for example, I'll give you guys a great example. She said that when she started coming out to speak against the whistleblower movement, Mr. Miles Gould, and I believe it was July 2021. Originally, she said that she did it not on GTV, right? Because she was afraid of whatnots, and she was because then she was on Twitter, doing her stuff, and then today she says she was on GTV doing the streams and the shows and whatnot. She continued to reiterate like it was 40 to 41 days, and 2 hours apiece.
Right, and she keeps like declined that she got benefits from G Club, and because she purchased a 20,000 G Club card that gives her 20% off, also allows her to broadcast on GTV. But then just this one question that if she got any benefits from G Club. It took I would say 20 minutes to get it out of her because she doesn't want to admit that she got benefit from the G Club, but she did because she admitted that she was able to live stream on GTV for 40 to 41 days. And also when being asked about H-Coin purchase, she kept saying that she's afraid, and then she got forced. She got forced to buy H-Coin after she stopped supporting the movement.
And you know what's interesting? So she says in court that she was forced to buy H-Coin, okay? And then when she asked for the refund, and she was reached out for the refund, she denied the refund. Like she said that in court, she denied the refund, and then.
Because she doesn't want Miles to pay out of his pocket. She wants the government to go after Miles, and then the government get the money back for her. It's just very strange, like the logic of right. So
everything.
with the problem with the interpretation, and then they mentioned about the schedule of the other witness, and they said we need the witness to be back finished this week by Friday, the last two witnesses for this week, and then our prosecutor, our lawyer, the defense team was saying because of the quality of the witness 9, and it's really it's kind of out of our control to give a better, quicker cross-examination, but we will do our best. That this is also the reason why after the long cross-examination there was no further examination done.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So that's basically.
And one more thing to add, and we'll jump to Mulan and everything about the witness number 9, Jenny Lee, is that it was mentioned in court that. About when she invested into GTV, because the GTV, the private placement was originally announced in April 20th, 2020, but she took out a refinance, a second mortgage from her home in February, 2 months before it was even announced.
Yeah.
So
but she claims that she heard the news during the Lunar New Year, but then she was testified before that the first time she heard about GTV investment it was in April 3 times. That's the first time.
Right. So pretty bad. I would say pretty bad. The witness must have not done good homework before she appeared in a court. And I would very doubt that how the judge, how the jurors would actually build this witness. It seemed to be one of the worst witnesses that we've ever seen since the beginning of the trial.
And it doesn't seem like she knows the consequences after what's being said in her performance in the court.
Right, she took the oath, right?
Yes.
She took the oath of answering questions each time when she came back to the court. So now let's move on, Mulan.
Sure.
I would doubt our audience have much more interests, in understanding why Mulan was there. I heard some dates that you mentioned, that Feder just mentioned, that the prosecutor team wanted to speed up and wanted to complete the witness testimony before Friday.
Yes.
So that mean, with the specific Mulan schedule, it needs to be, completed within this week.
So in terms of timeline, they said in court that she'll be here for 4 days.
4 days.
4 days.
And also, and because of the schedule and then the delay, because of witness night, our trial for today and tomorrow and Friday is extended.
Wow.
So we start, the juror enters at 9 a.m. And would end at 3 p.m.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So everybody, if it's a normal schedule, right? If it's a previous schedule, the court actually starts every 9:30 every morning.
Yes.
And then it ends 2:45.
Yep.
So it seems to us now it has extended extra 45 minutes every day, just to ensure the efficiency in the court. And so, just based on the estimation of today's progress, it seems to me that our defense was actually not started examining Mulan today, right? So all of the questioning was done by prosecutor team directly.
Right.
And so what other information did the government mention today about Mulan?
Okay, great question. I mean, they started off by going a little bit of her background, how was she involved, and how did she discover Mr. Miles Guo. And then she said she did discover Mr. Miles Guo when she was doing research on a story for her friend that was based in China about a student that went missing. And then that's when she went on YouTube, discovered VOA, and then she saw an ad, advertising that there's an upcoming interview with this multi-billionaire Mr. Miles Guo, and essentially that's how she discovered Mr. Miles Guo. So the 419 incident was mentioned again on the in trial today.
And also, she was asked about her involvement. Her involvement, her background in China as well, and where she was graduated, what was her job before, and also he mentioned like what things that she knows about, let's say, VOA, Rule of Law Foundation, Rule of Law Society, and what's her role in that organization. Let's say Rule of Law Foundation was a director. Starting from early 2019, she said it was appointed by Miles Guo, and also she also declared that she could not review any of the financial details about Rule of Law Foundation. So she was director, but she didn't have access to the financial part, and as well as G News. And she was the leader of the G translator for articles posted on G News, and as well as Guo Media, and which she claims that Miles Guo never raised money for, only for GTV later on. And what really hit me is that when it was mentioned, Brother Seven, so Qige, this is like a nickname that a lot of fellow fighters call, because Miles Guo is the seventh child of his family. She was asked, why do you call him Brother Seven? She said he asked them to call him that, and he's like, why? And then she said, because followers are like brothers and sisters, we're like a family. And then the prosecutor asked, why is a family? Why do you feel like a family? And she said, because we care of each other and we work together. And I wanted to mention that a lot of audience, because of her deep involvement and her influence beside of Miles Guo, and also in the Iron Blood group that was really close with Miles, her influence it's gone up to the point where a lot of people follow her and then believed her, and then because she's one of the most trusted person with Miles, and a lot
people
of
may think that she was one of the most trusted person.
Yes, for sure. I saw a lot of fellow fathers in the audience seat start crying, and they're wiping their tears, and this feeling of being, you know,
being
betrayal,
betrayed.
this betrayal feeling that, you know, somebody stepped outside just to calm down for a moment, and I wanted to mention the audience reaction at that moment when it was mentioned, you know, family, why it was like a family, and that also explains how close she was to Miles, right? Another
we're gonna pause here a little bit, you know, for everybody to understand. So it seems to us that the government started to, you know, have her describe, you know, what involvement she had with certain entities, right? Rule of Law Foundation, Genius, her position in the movement, you know, her position in the Iron Blood group, which is a core kind of like members, you know, who might, you know, carry more responsibilities of taking care of supporters, helping supporters in, you know, in New Federal City of China. So the government did lay out, you know, in, you know, movement wise, you know, what positions or what, you know, what projects that she was placed in before, and entity wise, you know, what what knowledge base she might have just in terms of the previous positions that she may have, and then, you know, did the government mention about, you know, how she was, you know, decided, you know, to testify against Miles, because obviously that was one of the main questioning, right? Because she mentioned about how close the supporters are. We were families, we were brothers and sisters. We even call Mr. Guo sometimes brothers. And so did the government mention anything, you know, how come that she entered a non-prosecution agreement with the government, and what was the main reason? Was it because she was one of the very closest person and fear the prosecution possibilities, or was it, you know, a willful decision that she surrendered herself to the government?
So no, they did not go into the questions.
Okay.
To give you guys a little bit of background, this lady, she grew up in China, 20 years in China. Then she immigrated to Australia to study accounting. Okay, and then she got her master's degrees in accounting, and from there she was working in accounting, and then that translated to her discovering Mr. Miles Guo because the 419 whole incident happened in 2017, and then you know, based on that was the background because of accounting. I think, you know, they can speak on her being an expert a little bit, but one of the questions that was really interesting is that the direct asked her, you know, why did you believe in Mr. Miles Guo? Right? You know, in terms of everything he said. And then she said because everything Mr. Miles Guo said in his broadcast was true. And then the direct asked her, like, what did he say that was true? And then she said, well, you know, everything he said, all the whistleblowing, the exposing the CCP, how evil they are, the infiltration into the Western countries, that was mentioned in court, it'll be on the transcript. And then also, now, the direct asked her, do you still believe the CCP is corrupt? She said yes. So that's also going to be in the transcript. So it's in court. So.
Yes, also at the beginning, she was asked if who gives instruction on all the investments, and, you know, every single investment, and she's a Miles Guo give all the instructions, and then she's like, she was asked about her beliefs in everything that he said about investments, and she's like, before, yes, I believe 100%, 1,000%, and then she was like, what about your understanding now to everything? And she's like, it's a scam. And this scam is being repeated several times.
The term scam that she chose to use
2 times, and I think it's you know, it could be a very hurtful thing to hear for a lot of fellow fighters sitting in the audience seat today.
Right.
To see,
we want to put the emotions aside a little bit, right? We want to first understand what is actually happening to the court.
For sure.
And the betrayal thing is another topic, right?
For sure.
And so let's just move on a little bit. So when the government continued to do the direct questioning of Mulan, what specific reasons, or at which point that she testified that she thinks, you know, that, you know, things are going wrong, and she, you know, decided to make a different decision?
Well, from my perspective, like when they were going through that, it was when all the private placement starts happening. She was saying how, because the video clip they had was a 44-second video of Mr. Miles Guo talking about the investments and it was a 44-second of Mr. Miles Guo actually talking about how, you know, when the new administration came in America, the Biden administration came in, guess what happened to the Hong Kong dollar, right? Kyle Bass was mentioned, how his opportunity fund lost a lot of money. And guess what? The fellow fighters did not lose the money. Sirocco was mentioned, but it was taken out of context a little bit because not everything was explained very well.
I think it was the Heyman management.
Yeah, the Heyman Capital.
Management, yes.
Heyman Capital management from Kyle Bass. His name came up. So that was the turning point where they started going to the finances because they want to use her as an expert witness to come in to say, oh, you know, I was involved with one of the core groups, you know, with the movement and how she was talking about. Because the question that was asked multiple times, it got to a point where, you know, Sabrina, the defense counsel, started saying, okay, this is something that's answered. They kept reiterating that, what did she say? They kept asking her, like, if you knew Mr. Miles Guo was going to use any of the funds for himself, would you have invested? Right? But if you really go into the numbers, like, there is a percentage of the funds that are going into, like, because it's laid out in terms of GTV's.
Before we go into the numbers, what are the evidences that were brought into the court today with Mulan? Because you mentioned about 44 seconds of video clips, but it was Miles' videos. Are there any other evidences that she brought into the court and to present to the public?
I think there's one evidence, physical evidence, been brought to the court. It's Miles Guo's sunglasses.
How come she has, the sunglasses of Miles?
Right, it was explained in the court that I believe that she said she was telling Miles that she really liked his sunglasses because it's the sunglasses that he wears in the broadcast. And Miles Guo said, "Oh, if you like it, I'll give it to you." And then he mailed the sunglasses within a
gift box.
Not like a glass box, like a glass holder or something. Glasses holder, and then send it by mail to her. And then it was presented. Everyone was looking at the sunglasses.
Yeah, I can speak to it a little bit. It's like, from my perspective, it really goes to show you the generosity of Mr. Miles Guo, because as you know, that as a patriot of the NFSC, like as somebody that follow Mr. Miles Guo, like whether you're a supporter or not, you can tell that he's a very generous person. And so I'm going to refer to this lady as Mulan, if that's okay. And she in court testified saying that she just simply mentioned to Mr. Miles Guo that he saw her wearing the sunglasses on one of his broadcasts, saying, "Oh, that's a great looking sunglasses." And Mr. Miles says, "If you like it, I'll mail it to you." And that was that pretty much. They didn't really go into the reasons as to this or that, but they did bring that up because the direct asked Mulan, "Hey, did Mr. Miles Guo send you anything physically?" Right? And then that was the evidence that was brought, which is the sunglasses. Which is interesting. I feel like it was more of a, from my perspective at least, it's more of a show of sign of generosity from Mr. Miles Guo than anything that's necessarily against him, because they didn't really touch on.
Because it reminds me of one of our defense cross with Karen Mastrello. Like she asked about whether you received any gifts during your employment, and they mentioned about an Hermes puffer jacket, right? And it was also sent as a gift. Yes. To the employee. So, it seems to me that, part of the testimony or part of the evidences was actually confirm, the Miles that we had contact, or that Miles that, we believed, who are very generous to the supporters, regardless of who they are and where they came from and if they were close enough to Miles, but that Miles always showed that generosity to Chinese people and to people around him.
I think there's I couldn't find the notes here, but then it was asked how she, as a farm leader herself, she was asked to handle some investors' money, and then there's money sent to her account, as I think it was farm loan program. But then the question followed. It was, oh, if you're this leader, would you use investors' money? And she's like, no, I never used investor money. But then really the question to Miles regarding to whether he used, if you knew he used investor money to do certain things, would you still follow him or make invest with him? I think that question got sustained, got an objection, right?
Well, I mean, when it comes to, so here's something interesting. I can go into evidence 3 really quick. It was a video clip, the 44-second video clip of Ms. Mouse Guo talking about one of the investment opportunities. So here's the thing. And this video is from July 13, 2022. I'll roll that down. It's from a Q&A live stream with Ms. Mouse Guo. And they took out a very small clip. Because, I mean, imagine this, right? Because, you know, we all know Ms. Mouse Guo's live streams are 2-hour long, sometimes 3, even longer. So it's like, how can you, I mean, if I remember correctly, the Titanic is like 3 hours long. It's like, how do you get the full gist of the movie in 44 seconds, right? So that's number one. But number two is like, because of that video, the direct question to Mulan was, why do you believe was the reason why Mr. Mouse Guo started all these projects, the G series, the investments, the whatnots? And she testified in court. She said that it's because he wanted his supporters to become wealthy, okay? Because the CCP is scared of the supporters if they, you know, became wealthy, so they can actually fight back, have an ecosystem of their own, and not be targeted, manipulated, you name it. Right, because we talked about this yesterday about how the CCP spent $4 billion, right, against the NFSC. Imagine $4 billion. So it's
with just one event.
Just one event, $4 billion. That's a huge dollar amount that for the average person is. I don't think they have the perception of understanding what $4 billion are. It's cash. We're talking about $4 billion cash, right? So I think it's a huge deal.
So adding on Jackson a little bit, the $4 billion was one of the video clips that were played in yesterday where Miles stated in his broadcast previously, said that he had intelligence. He confirmed that the Chinese Communist Party had spent around $4 billion United States dollars to attack the foundation ceremony of the new federal state of China, which was taking place on June 4th, 2020. And so imagine, you know, how much money, how much effort, and to what extent that the CCP was trying to attack the new federal state of China, right, with the sole mission of taking them down. And so, you know, brought in today that, you know, it seemed to me that part of Mulan's testimony were actually confirming what, you know, what the NFSC has been doing, the G series, the ecosystem that built up around to protect and to enrich you know, supporters who share the same value of taking down the CCP was part of the reason that, you know, we want to keep the assets safe from the control and from the threats of the Chinese Communist Party.
Right. I mean, going up against such a giant, a transnational organization, a criminal organization, right, like the CCP. I mean, we're going up against a country that can literally print money at will, which goes to show the true what is the true value of the RMB, for example, the Chinese currency. But with that being said, going up against such a, I would say, a large evil adversary, a lot of the things that you got to do things that may not be the most conventional, right, to get the job done. But anyways, I just think it's something to bring up. Like the $4 billion, that's a huge astronomical amount of dollars, just for one event. So yeah.
And what did Mulan testify after the, you know, after the 44 seconds of video?
Let me take a look. Well, from there, she literally said, I mean, the question was, why do you believe Mr. Mouse Guo started these projects? And that's when she went over to say
about the CCP and everything.
Oh, yeah. She went over the CCP a little bit and then talked about how Mr. Mouse Guo wanted to start all these projects to help enrich all the supporters and all the Chinese people around the world. So they have, you know, number one, the GTV being its own platform, just freedom of speech, being able to speak on, have a space, a trusted, at least a free space to speak their minds. And I think that's very important.
Right.
A lot of these hidden little things, I believe. I'm very excited for tomorrow's cross. Once we get there, she will be here for X amount of days. I believe she is be here for 4 days. So we have today, tomorrow, Friday, to really dig into the cross. In my personal opinion, she's given a lot of layups, like with witness number 9 in the very beginning. When it comes to the direct, a lot of layups, right? Softball questions that were. You know, because they had over 8 meetings with the prior witness number 9, including the one from yesterday, so 9.
Right.
And then so with Mulan, we'll find out.
Yeah, right. And then another thing I just want to mention really quickly, when she was asked about NFSC, and she was clearly stated that NFSC is New Federal State of China, and the farms are under NFSC, you know. And then when they're asked if NFSC, it's the same thing as G Club, or anything to do with G Club. She said G Club does not equal to NFSC. It's a business. The G series is separate from NFSC, which she was correct. That's what I wanted to mention.
Right. So it sounds to me that, you know, she actually gave lots of explanations of you know, commercial business is outside, right? It's separated from political movement.
Yes.
However, the ecosystem, you know, might have shared values with its clients who share the same values, political values of taking down the Chinese Communist Party. But New Federal State of China is not commercial. It's you know, it's a movement. It's an organization with the sole mission to take down the Chinese Communist Party, and that's it. And so, Feder, you mentioned previously that Mulan used the term scam multiple times today in the direct questioning. So what are the situations that she mentioning, you know, about this, the so-called, you know, quote-unquote scam?
Right. When she was asked, why, like, why does she do certain things that way, or why did she do this? She said, because I believed in Miles. Why did you sign the documents without reading the documents carefully? And she was saying, because I trust Miles so much, so I didn't really, you know, think about even reading the documents before I sign it. You know, regarding to the risks, right?
Yeah.
Regarding
a lot
to
of
the
negligence
details
on the individual level, but pinned on other people. So.
Right, and then because she said at the time she trusted him 100%, 1000%, and that the word scam was used when she was asked, what's your understanding about this investment now? And then if was risk was important to your decision, and she's like, yes. Would you still invest if you're not guaranteed? Well, let's guarantee the loss. You know, when the Miles' videos, he guaranteed to pay back the loss, and she's like, would you still invest if they're not guaranteed? She's like, no. And then, you know, such questions, that leads to the answer to a scam when she was asking about your understanding of this.
There's a pattern. There's a pattern to all the other witnesses too. I think that's the narrative that they're going with. I mean, towards the end, I mean, after the 44-second video, and you know, then mentioning about the whole why did Mr. Mao even start these projects. They went to GTV a little bit, like what is GTV, for example, and she explained, it's like a platform that's similar to YouTube in combination with Twitter, for example. It's also a platform where she said, in her quotes, true news from the West was able to reach the Chinese, China, to the East, and vice versa, right? So, you know, a place of free speech. She mentioned the Great Firewall from the CCP, how a lot of the information overseas are very manipulated. So this is a true platform that was able to, you know, be a place of a safe haven, so to speak. And then she was also asked, so in terms of view counts, right? They said, well, how many view counts were on GTV? And then she answered, well, billions of views on GTV for people that watch Mr. Miles Guo's live streams. And then she was asked, well, how many views were on YouTube? For example, asking about Mr. Miles Guo. Oh, not as much as GTV. Which, in reality, it tells me, as a bystander, that because I don't see the real analytics to tell everybody, it's exactly this many views, right? But it's telling the jurors, because I was looking at the people's reaction, because we're sitting right there and the jurors right there in front of us, that I think the common sense, the logic, when you connect the dots, is like, it really goes to show you that a lot of the platforms, because we know Mr. Miles was silenced, right, off of Twitter and YouTube. He can't do live streams on YouTube versus him posting more clips and things like that. So it's a little different too. So it really goes to show, at least for me personally, like on GTV, the true numbers are the true numbers, which really shows the real analytics of multi-billion views.
Right.
Versus what was being suppressed on other platforms.
Yeah.
Right. So it really solidifies.
Right.
GTV.
We're gonna pause here as you know we're reaching to 4 p.m. right now, and so everybody follow us on NFSC Speaks, and you know thanks so much for Feder and Jackson to bring us so much updates about the 10th witness. Obviously, the government, it is still the time for the government to bear the burden to prove the charges that they listed out against Miles, and up to today, Miles continue to insist that he is innocent, from all of these charges, right? So we will see what arguments that the government was trying to lay with specifically the 10th witness, who were a former member, of the political movement in the new federal state of China. And so everybody, we will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. And if you're curious about any of these legal documents, go to nfscofficial.com, click court documents. You will find transcripts and other public documents that you could find on the docket as well. So thank you so much for following us. We will pray for Miles, and we will see you tomorrow.